Relief and freedom, guilt and remorse, doubt and uncertainty, depression and longing, and then a fork in the road between resignation and acceptance versus regret and re-engagement. Welcome to the channel. If you've been here before, welcome back. Today, we are talking about the stages your avoidant ex goes through when doing no contact. Now, keep in mind for this video, I'm generally talking about dismissive avoidance, which is the most common kind of avoidant. If you're talking about anxious avoidance or disorganized attachment style, there can be some more complexities in that particular attachment style. So your dismissive avoidant man comes to you and he says, sorry, we need to break up. You say, I'm sad, I want to be together. He says, nope, we're not doing this. And you guys go no contact. What is he going through? Let's talk about them stage by stage. The first is freedom and relief. This one can hurt a little bit because it will not be what you are feeling during this stage. You have to remember a dismissive avoidance core trauma is loss of self. It's enmeshment. He may need connection as much as you, but in terms of what his body is aware of, in terms of what his mind and the parts of himself help him steer clear of, it's all about loss of self. He got too close to someone in some way, somewhere in his past, and he was obligated to take care of that person. He was forced to do something against his will. He simply lost himself. All dismissive avoidants have this in common, where their core wound is about freedom or loss of autonomy. So the very first thing naturally that they feel when they get out of a committed relationship is the recovery of freedom and autonomy. They're going to feel pretty good. Their immediate fear, their biggest trauma has been instantly relieved. This is very different from someone who has an anxious attachment style, who basically has their biggest fear, which is abandonment, kind of stabbed and salt is put on the wound. For an avoidant, when they escape the relationship, yippee, man, I'm out. I've got my biggest fear totally taken care of. I'm okay. There's going to be a sense of freedom and relief. Now, this feeling will last a little while. And then once he is far from that immediate danger of being controlled or being obligated, he will start to come back to himself. The red alert, the red alarm, the fire alarm in his system will tone down, and he'll start to think more about what he's done. That leads us to stage 2, guilt and remorse. Avoidant guys do care about you. They care a lot about you. We're not talking about psychopathic narcissists right here. There's very, very few of those. We're talking about genuine guys who have a dismissive avoidant attachment style. And there is many, many, many of those, either secure with avoidant leaning or just fully avoidant. These guys care about you. They are going to feel guilt and remorse when they are sitting there on their own, when they've come down from the fear of being controlled, of losing themselves, when that is no longer in their radar, in their vicinity. They're going to regret hurting you. They're going to look at their actions. No good man, as in no non-narcissistic sociopath man, enjoys hurting women. It's just not a thing. So when he feels like he has hurt you, when he feels like he has taken actions that are not good for you, that have given you a bunch of negative feelings, that have made you feel crappy, he is going to experience a lot of guilt or remorse from that. So believe it or not, he is sitting there in no contact feeling a lot of those feelings. It may not necessarily change the outcome, but I guess you can at least take solace in the fact that unless he's a horrible person, and there's a very tiny percentage of the population that represent that, if he's a normal guy, then he is sitting there throughout phases of the no contact, thinking about the way he affected you and feeling guilty over it. He's not an asshole. He likely has feelings, and now he's away from the pressure and the stress of losing his autonomy. He actually has time to process the way he hurt you. And I guarantee he doesn't feel good about it, especially during this phase. Number 3 is doubt and uncertainty. As time goes on, he starts to wonder if he did the right thing. Was breaking up with you the right move? Would it have been better to handle the situation in a different way? He's thinking about how he hurt you, and he's thinking about if that was the right decision, especially to end it at the end. A lot of men will go through this phase no matter whether their attachment style is, but dismissive avoidance in particular, they're away from that immediate nervous system jangle, and so they start to think more rationally. And that's when they start to go, was that actually logically the best decision? Was it really a good idea to just end that and be away from her? I hurt her in this way. Could I have gone about it a different way? Inevitably, he's going to question himself to figure out, to kind of query as to whether he did the right thing. The 4th phase is then depression and longing. So as the weeks sort of turn into months, he will start to notice the absence of you in his life. The nights he misses out on, the dates he no longer gets to go on, the sex he no longer gets to have, those precious little moments that he probably took for granted before because he was so worried about being controlled or being too close to you. Now, the absence of those moments is highlighted. The thing that used to be highlighted, which is his freedom, that all went away the moment you guys broke up and went no contact. So now all the other things that are there, that are meaning his needs are not being met, are coming up to the surface. So this depression and longing phase can last a long time, and it will affect what he does in the next phase too. But basically, this is the phase where he starts to realize, oh, hang on a minute. I do care about connection. I'm losing connectedness. And sure, he could go have a superficial relationship or be with another woman, but if your relationship really had meat and had volume and had length to it, the superficialness is only going to be a very temporary reprieve from the loneliness that he feels when you are not there. I talk to a lot of women who are so worried about other women coming in and thinking that that's going to make him forget them. If your relationship was good, and if you ended with a good last impression, then the superficial stuff may be a distraction, but it'll actually make him more depressed about losing you, not less. After depression and longing, the final stage takes a fork in the road. So it can either be regret and re-engagement or resignation and acceptance. Now, some of this depends on the depression and longing stage. It depends on how you carry yourself during the no contact phase as well. If he sees you moving on with your life, if he sees you and feels you genuinely forgetting him, that actually makes him more likely to re-engage, as opposed to if he thinks and feels you're still chasing him, he's more likely to go, nope, I'm just going to hurt her. And he goes into that resignation and acceptance. So it does depend on your dynamic. There are things you can do to influence him here and be more attractive, as I say, within yourself. But overall, a guy's going to make this choice. He's either going to say, okay, that was it. No matter how much depression and longing I have, it was the right decision. He has that core belief that you guys broke up for the right reasons, or that he's going to hurt you by talking to you, or blah, blah, blah. And at that point, there's basically nothing you can do to change his mind. He's resigned to it. He's accepted it. It's a fact in his mind. And no matter how depressed or how much he longs for you, it's like, he has buried himself in the idea that what is best for you is for him to not talk to you because he is in some way a bad guy or has hurt you or is not good for you. And he will follow that to the letter for as long as it takes. The second possibility is it builds up too much. The depression and longing does get the better of him. His reasons for breaking up with you start to feel flimsy to him, and he regrets and re-engages. Now, the thing about re-engagement is, especially if you're anxious, you need to not jump on the first re-engagement and think that he wants you back. The first, maybe second time an avoidant ex re-engages with you, it's usually a feeler. It's usually a band-aid because he's feeling lonely. And if you take too much of that bait, he will maybe spend the night with you, maybe exchange a few texts, but it's a little bit masturbatory in a sense. He's going to feel better, and then he's going to wean off you properly and kind of remember the reason he broke up with you. So make sure that you're not just jumping on the first communication he gives you. Really wait until, if you're going to let him re-engage, and if you do think there's a chance for the relationship that he could be a new man that maybe did make a mistake, let him re-engage a few times. Don't give him everything on the first re-engagement, and really make him work to come back and show you why he would be a changed man. Because there's nothing worse than an ex re-engaging. You jump in, you guys are back together for a day or a week, and then he's like, actually, never mind, I made the right decision. You get abandoned for a second time. Nothing worse than that. You don't want that to happen. So make him work for it. If he's going to re-engage as a reaction to his depression and longing and how much he misses you, you need to be sure that he hasn't just made that decision on an impulse or a whim because he had a bad day. That needs to be weeks of thought, of conviction around, nope, I was with the right woman, I made a mistake. He needs to build up a conviction and not just have a fleeting fancy. He needs to know that getting you back is the right decision. So when he re-engages, be careful. Don't just jump on it, make him work for it. And you also, as I said, have to believe that he's a changed man, because there's no point going back to the same relationship with the same problems. So don't take him back. If he does re-engage, don't take him back unless there is an absolutely clear plan of how version 2 of your relationship is going to be different from version 1. Not only will this challenge him and make him respect you more, it means that you can actually have faith that this relationship has a chance instead of just repeating the same thing over again. So those are the 5 stages a guy, an avoidant ex, goes through when you go no contact. I will say this, because they're avoidant, there is a sort of a 6th stage, but the 6th stage is a bit separate because it can come in at any point. And that 6th stage is numbness and emotionlessness. You might be looking at this thinking, Mark, my guy, I've seen him. He doesn't seem to be giving me any of those. He's just numb and emotionless. Yes, he's an avoidant. That's what we do. Okay, I'll put my hand up. I'm an avoidant. I'm, secure, avoidant, leaning. But yep, that's what we do. Often we just avoid the emotions and we go numb and emotionless on you. So always keep in mind that if he's numb and emotionless, that's not necessarily a reflection on the stage. That's more of a coping mechanism that dismissive avoidants tend to do so that they can essentially survive those big emotions that they really don't want to feel, i.e. they want to avoid. Those are the stages that an avoidant ex goes through during no contact. As always, with no contact, set yourself a time limit and then reassess at the next time limit. So you might say 30 days, then you reassess at 30, at 60, at 90. Don't ever assume there's going to be an end to no contact, but set yourself dates to reassess it and see what's happening at that point. If you would like to find a man who does not have such avoidant tendencies, or at least very, very few of them, feel free to book a call with me. No man, no fee guarantee is still going, so you can check that out via the link in the description. Otherwise, thanks again for watching. Leave a comment with your thoughts below. Hit the big red subscribe button with the little bell and give the video a thumbs up to let me know you enjoyed it. I'll see you in the next one very soon.